So in this video, we're going to talk about how to solve one-step multiplication and division equations. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to find solutions to these equations. And remember, we have to undo the math operations in the original problem by doing what's called opposite or inverse operations. So in this lesson, we're going to be talking about multiplication and division. The opposite of multiplication is division, and the opposite of division is multiplication. Remember, our goal when doing these problems is to isolate the variable. So we're trying to get the variable by itself on one side of the equation. So let's look at these problems. So we have 4z equals 12. Remember, when we have a constant and a variable written like that in an algebra problem, that means that they're being multiplied. We don't have to write out the multiplication signs because that is implied. So here, the math operation on z is that it's being multiplied by 4. So we can undo this multiplication by dividing by 4. Let's look at this problem. We have p over 4 equals negative 2. So when it's written like that, we know that we are dividing by 4. So the opposite of dividing by 4 is to multiply by 4. So the property of equality still holds when we're multiplying and dividing. So if we're multiplying something on one side of my equation, we have to multiply the same number to the other side of the equation. Otherwise, we are altering the meaning of the entire problem. So the property of equality is very, very important. Anything you do to one side of the equation must be repeated to the other side for the equation to stay true. So remember, keep in mind our goal. We're trying to isolate the variable and we're trying to figure out its value. So our final goal is an equation in a form like x equals some number, and we're going to keep doing these opposite operations until we reach that point. So let's try solving 3x equals 18. Well, so what's happening here is 3 is multiplying x, so we're going to undo that by dividing. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3. This 3 and this 3 will cancel, leaving me with x equals 18 divided by 3 is 6. And we can plug that number back in and check our solution. 3 times 6, does that equal 18? Yes, it does. So we know that we have found the correct solution. Let's try solving x divided by 4 equals 6. So the opposite of dividing by 4 is to multiply by 4. So I'm going to multiply both sides of my equation by 4. And so here the 4's will cancel, giving me x equals 6 times 4, which is 24. So now I'm going to go to the original problem, and I'm going to plug that back in. So I get 24 over 4. And I'm verifying if that equals 6. 24 divided by 4 does equal 6, so my solution is correct. So now let's try solving these two problems. We have 4z equals 12. So I am going to go through and I'm going to divide my problem by 4. And that is going to leave me with z equals 12 divided by 4, which is 3. We have p over 4 equals negative 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. And then on the left side, that's going to cancel, leaving me with p equals negative 2 times 4, which is negative 8. And actually, I forgot to go back and check our solution, so let's go ahead and do that. So we have 4 times 3. Does that equal 12? And yes, it does. So our solution is correct. And does negative 8 divided by 4 equal negative 2? Yes, it does. So our solution is correct. So remember that given an equation, you can isolate the variable and solve to find solutions using inverse or opposite operations. The opposite of multiplication is division, and the opposite of division is multiplication.